Okay, I think we're ready to go, folks. So if everyone can just take their seat. Welcome to our November 2018 Community Board 3 monthly meeting. I'm your chair, Philip Pappas. First of all, I am really sorry about the weather tonight. Not that I ordered the weather, but we certainly, I don't think most of us expected it to be quite that bad. So we definitely looked at the weather earlier tonight and did not want to, have people traveling in unsafe conditions. But it was definitely a little bit more treacherous out there than we expected. So glad everyone made it here safely, and hopefully we'll have more board members arriving presently as the night goes on. But the way our meetings are structured, we have two parts. The first part is a public hearing. So we're going to proceed with that now. And that's where people are making presentations. There are opportunities during public hearing where the board members and also members of the public can at certain points ask questions or make comments. I'm going to ask that everyone who is making a comment, whether they're from the board or from the public tonight, to please come up to this microphone to my left on the mic stand. And we do that for two reasons. First of all, I want to welcome back WNET 13, the crew that's here tonight to film us. Welcome back, guys. These guys do a great job. If any of you have seen on YouTube, they stream the meetings live and then also leave them posted up. So it's a great way to record the meetings for people who can't make it on nights like tonight or for whatever reason. So you never have to miss a community board meeting. You can go back and review them at your leisure. So they did a great job, and we missed you guys the last few months, so glad to have you back again. And thank you to Councilmember Drum for securing the grant funding to get this live streaming done of the meetings. So two of the reasons is, number one, when you come up to the microphone, your voice can be heard on these recordings. If you've ever watched a live meeting recording and someone is asking a question and it's like a whisper in the background, it's kind of frustrating because there are some really good questions asked here. So we want to make sure we get your question on record. If you're from the community, I ask that you just give us just your first name. You don't have to give us your complete information and maybe just the neighborhood you're from, because we'd like to know if it's someone from Jackson Heights or if it's from East Elmhurst, just to know where your concern is coming from. The other reason is that we also record everything that happens tonight in our minutes, which is very important, because going forward you want to have a record of what was done tonight, especially if it's an ongoing issue or concern, we can refer back to it, okay? So if you know that there's an issue coming up and there might be comments or questions and you feel like you want to say something at the right time, just raise your hand, be recognized by the floor, and then be prepared to come up and say a few words, okay? So the second half of the meeting is going to be executive session. We will see how that will go tonight, because right now we do not yet have a quorum. We're hoping we will by the time we get to that point, and we will cross that bridge when we get to it. But I just want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming. Glad everyone made it safely. Hopefully we'll all get home safely tonight and we'll get out promptly. So with that, we will start the meeting. So first up, for public participation, we have a couple of people here to speak tonight. During public participation, it's a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. There's no questions or comments during this, so it's just a quick 3-minute presentation. I believe we have two presenters tonight. First up, we have Artemis Artoon. Are they here? No? Okay. So that leaves us with Mr. Kevin Montalvo, who I was told was actually an alumni of this very school. So welcome back. Whoops. So 3 minutes, sir. 3 minutes? Yes.
Okay, so I can run half a mile in that time. Excellent, I'll think of it that way. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Montalvo, Jackson Heights, and as he mentioned, I'm an alum of this school. I graduated here 16 years ago, and I'm really happy to see that there's a track. Wish I had a chance to use it, but nevertheless, we are building for the future. So I am the founder of the Queens Distance Runners, and I'm the race director of the Queens Marathon, which will be taking place on April 21st. We're very excited about this opportunity to bring folks from across the tri-state region to come to Queens, have a chance to see our neighborhoods. The event, as of right now, is taking place exclusively in the park, and we hope to feature the kids of Queens. This is a free program where kids, we actually have 45 families from around the neighborhood within a 3-mile radius of Flushing Meadows Corona Park that come to Flushing Meadows Park to either run or volunteer for free. Why is this? Because our team is pretty tired after running the New York City Marathon. We're very tired, but at the same time, now it's our turn to give back. So now on a weekly basis, we go ahead and volunteer. If I have about 20 or 30 business cards and flyers, my good friend James, who's also an alum of this school, he's going to be handing them out. We have our first race leading up to the marathon, which is the Toy Drive 5-miler. The proceeds go to Queens Centers for Progress, and there's a kids event to go with that as well. The kids run is free of charge, and what we do is that, just to give you some insight, I'm a track and field coach. These kids, if you go to any of their races, they go out a little fast and they sort of get tired, they lose their breath. I train them, I take them in, I train them. There was a 12-year-old girl who actually completed 3 miles for the first time. It was an eye-opening experience. Now she's asking when the next training is. It's the kids of Queens. We are the Queens Distance Runners, and we now are volunteering with the Alliance for Flushing Meadows Corona Park on a weekly basis. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm very excited to speak with you all, and thank you so much. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you. And if I could ask, sir, if you have that information, we usually try to put it over on the table right here on the side, if you're leaving stuff for people to pick up. Or if you just would like to speak to this gentleman out in the crowd, feel free to do that. Okay?
Gentlemen in the crowd where?
No, if they want to speak to you when you're out in the crowd, to ask more questions. But sometimes people would leave information here, and then people are a little shy about coming right up in front of the camera and picking things up. So, I'm sorry, did you want to do that now? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to quickly add one on here from, okay, sure.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Ed Wesley was supposed to be here, but I'll make the announcement. My name is Nulo Dougherty. I'm a member, but I'm also the president of the Jackson Heights Beautification Group, and we have 2 announcements. We're going to have our 30th anniversary fundraising dinner on December 3rd at the Queensboro, and then we're going to have the annual tree lighting on Saturday, December 8th at 4 o'clock at the post office. So I hope everyone will come. And Ed should be here later with flyers.
Okay. Thank you. So that concludes public participation. Now we go into public information. We do have 2 presentations scheduled for tonight. First up, we have New York City Parks Department here, and they're going to present design plans for the World's Fair Marina. So welcome.
Just give it a second to warm up. How you doing? My name's Arad Akbork. I'm employee at the Parks Department and Engineering Department. I'm the project manager for the reconstruction of the World's Fair Marina. The World's Fair Marina is located in Flushing Bay, as most of you probably know. This is just an aerial of Flushing Bay. You see Pier 1, which is the main component of our project here, the surrounding area of Citi Field below, Pier 3, which is located near the World's Fair Marina restaurant and offices, and the travel lift is also a minor component of this project. The goals of the project is a complete reconstruction of Pier 1, a rehabilitation of Pier 3, the travel lift and the bulkhead, a replacement of Pier 1 fencing and railing, and improved pier lighting and a new entrance gate. Furthermore, we had a scope meeting in August of last year, and got a lot of feedback, and we want to add all the amenities from that were requested. And we're trying to create a pier that has public access with a concession, restroom, site furnishings, fishing area, kayak and kayak rentals and boat refueling. We also want to improve the site security and amenities for the boaters. We have an estimated construction budget of $32 million. The piers are located in the flood zone, as you can see. They are piers. We're designing them to resist future flooding events. So, so the pier will be sustained for multiple years. This is a aerial of the existing Pier 1. It's currently closed to the public. The permitted boaters do have access to their boats on the slip, but the main portion of the pier is not in great shape. You can see we have the existing concession building that was on the pier here. We have a fuel dock. It's a multi-purpose pier. We have commercial boaters, normal regular boaters, human-powered boaters use the pier as well. We went through some PDC conceptual design, and we came up with this approved conceptual design. The main feature is this pier is a lot longer, or the main leg of the pier goes out farther into the bay, which achieves greater water depth, which at the scope meeting was one of the main concerns. We rearrange the floating docks. As you can see, we have various different sizes to house various different vessels. We have a dedicated human-powered boating floating dock, and we want to again keep the concession structure and add a boaters facility as well. These are some site context photos of the existing conditions. This is a floating dock here, picture 1. Picture 2 is shows the view looking north into the bay. Photo 3 is the existing fuel dock, and 4 and 5 are the main fixed pier. As you can see, it's in pretty bad shape and in need of repair, or reconstruction, I'm sorry. This is the concession building from different angles. This is all one building. As you can see, it's not in great shape, and this would be a great opportunity now to put a new concession building for all the public and boaters to use. This is some historical information, historical photos. You can see this is Pier 1 here from the 1966 World's Fair. This is Pier 1 right when it was built, and same on the bottom, looking west. I'm sorry, looking east. Again, there's an aerial of then and now, Flushing Bay, in 1966 versus 2017. The Pier 1 project scope, like I said, Pier 1 is the major component of this project. We're going to demolish and rebuild Pier 1. We're going to repair the bulkhead, replace the concession, and replace all the floating docks at Pier 1. Again, here's the proposed design with a little color added. The main portion, which we're extending out to achieve greater water depths. The new pier will also have a little bump out section where the new concession would be. This yellow section is the public access. Boaters and commercial operators and party boaters will have access to the top portion of the pier. The floating dock, we're reorienting in a way that will work better for us. We also have incorporated a little skinny jut out here for fishers they could use, and then have their own area. This is the fencing diagram. We have existing code-compliant fencing C-rail along the bulkhead, which we want to mirror and reconstruct, and we're going to have, again, code-compliant rail all around the fixed pier, a new entrance gate here, and another steel double gate between the public and the boaters. Here's a existing picture of Pier 1 looking north, and here's our conceptual rendering of the new pier. This would be the new concession, and that would be the boater facility. Here's a wider look. Here's a eye-level photo of the concessionaire. Some of the amenities of the structure, you would have a shade structure. There would be a concession inside, public bathrooms, which is the number one thing at the public scope meeting everybody wanted. It would have ADA-compliant bathrooms, plenty of storage, and room for utilities to be housed. Here's a little bird's eye view of the structure. Here's a little plan. We would have the bathrooms right here, and again, a little concession area. We're envisioning the concession would be, snacks, drinks, maybe even kayak rentals, boat rentals, even boating equipment, like a bait and tackle, small type of concession. This is an elevation drawing, looking at the front of the building. The other building, which is the border facility here on the right, and the concession in the background. Here's one better photo of the rendering of the border facility. The border facility, again, would house bathrooms, showers, and also has hand sinks on the outside, as you can see here on the plan. We would have toilets, showers, a janitor's closet, a hand sink station. Here's an elevation of the building. This is the proposed pier railing. This is one of the images we found from the World's Fair. We plan on imitating this railing throughout the Pier 1. And here's a little drawing of it. It's going to be galvanized steel top rail on galvanized steel posts and base plates. This is the proposed gate plan. We have a plan view, elevation view. As you can see, it would be a hinged gate, double gate that would open up. It would be open normal time, normal park hours. And off hours, we would have a permittee security gate, which would, if you had the combo or key card, you could access your boat. Here are some proposed pier site furnishings. We got benches, backed and backless, the galvanized candela flushing metal pole, fish cleaning station, and receptacle bins. And here's some inspiration our architects used for coming up with the concession and boater facility. So our next steps, we're looking for a letter of support from letter of support here from the Community Board for PDC. Then we would submit for PDC preliminary submission and approval. We would then also try to furnish the additional permits, DEC, Army Corps, SBS, and then we can finalize our design and package it for bid. Public Design Commission. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a very concise presentation. You may have heard a beeping before, so we have a timer tonight. We're trying to keep the presentations flowing smoothly, so that was very nice. It was just over 10 minutes. So this is a portion where if you have a question or a comment, you're welcome to make that. That's not just for the board, that's for everyone. Can I ask folks to please come up and use the microphone up here? So we can, how much time? Well, I think we can get everyone's question in tonight. We don't have that many people. As long as it's not a really long question. So if you could just give us your name and what neighborhood you're in.
Nulo Darty, Jackson Heights. I'm on the board. I noticed you have showers there. Are you allowing people to reside on the boats?
No.
Okay.
But showers was an amenity that was proposed and, was looked like at the public school meeting that was desired.
Okay, and for the kayaking, the lowest part of the pier there, I assume that's for the non-motorized,
Yeah, human-powered
Boats?
boaters, yep.
and then, so for that, is that going to be open to anybody, or how is that different from with people who rent spaces on the pier?
Let me,
Hi, and I'm Eric Linsalata, Deputy Director of Engineering. I'm supervising this, and Nate Grove is also here, who's Chief of Marinas, who knows it very well. And you want to answer this about the human-powered?
The question was, can anyone use the human-powered boating facility? So we're really working with engineering here to advance, to meet more of the demand that people have. There's obviously, dragon boating is an incredibly popular sport. So that's really went into this design of really carving out a space for them, as well as looking for opportunities for kayak rentals via concession to see as the waters get cleaner, more and more people wanting to get out there, get on the water. So it's really designed to allow people to use it in multiple ways. If someone has their own kayak, if that was your question, would they be able to launch from here? The answer is yes.
Okay, and then lastly, with the air train, how would the air train impact the design here and block access to the pier?
Sure. Well, we're generously joined by Port Authority tonight as well, so they'll be speaking more about that. So that's really probably better directed toward them. But we can tell you in our conversations so far, the bulk of our project, particularly Pier 1, is not impacted by AirTrain. They've still got a long path ahead of them in terms of the environmental impact study, engineering studies. So that's still in the works, but we're confident that our Pier 1 plan, which is really the lion's share of this project, isn't going to be impacted, isn't going to affect people's access to and from the marina.
She just asked one of my questions. But the other question is, what is the funding? The funding for this project, is that part of the marina, or is that public funding involved here?
This is public funding.
Public funding.
So this is funding that we requested from City Hall, and we were given it. We also have a segment of the funding that's FEMA money from Hurricane Sandy, actually, so repairing some of the damage done by that. So we actually got a really nice bundle all together. Instead of just doing the repair work from Hurricane Sandy, we lobbied for additional funds to basically do a once-in-a-lifetime reconstruction of the facility.
I just want to say I think the opportunities are great for connecting with nature and for healthy recreation like boating. So I just want to say a big thank you to our city parks for working on this project.
You're welcome. We get to do this every day.
Thank you. My name is Jairo Rodriguez. I belong to Community Board 3. One of my questions is, are you thinking, when you mentioned that they're gonna have it like a place to sell snacks and all that stuff, they ever think about the people that belong in the area? Maybe they can own the business, not big companies?
Yeah, I believe that concessions are open for bidding by anyone who's
I mean, but
who's got a business.
they usually bring the big change, you know, to
I don't think this would be a chain operation. Most of our concessions in the Parks Department are not big chains. Most of them are local organizations.
Please think about the people that are in the neighborhood, you know, we need a jars over here for all these kids.
Absolutely.
I just want
And the businessmen too.
I appreciate. I hope you spread the word too. We're open for business, you know, particularly with an operation like this. I'm not being funny about that. We really hope to get more proposals. The more the better, the more lively that process is. I have a desk in the revenue office with Parks as well, so I'm part of that process of trying to get solicitations out there. We publish all of our opportunities to run concessions on parkland. To be honest, this is a smaller operation, and I've now been at this site for 16 years. It's always been a small local operator. Ideally, we'll get more bidders with this reconstruction, so I appreciate that question. Looking forward, as we scale up and invest in this facility, I want to see better operators come out and sell more than just burgers. I love burgers too, but you know, to really scale up. So we're definitely open. By nature, though, it's just not attractive to some of the bigger chains. It's a one-off, it's a multi-use facility, so we think local knowledge is very important for that sort of operation. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Toy. I'm from East Elmhurst. Actually live very close to the pier. So I have one question, one statement. So I'll start with the statement. Hopefully, as this plan is developed, maybe we'll get lucky like Brooklyn Bridge Park and get a floating pool as well. I know that's forward thinking, but my question is you talked about Pier 1. Does this project extend all the way over on the marina to where the entrance and exit to the pier is at 27th Avenue, closer towards the airport? And if not, because I see you shaking your head, is there any reason why it does not, and what needs to be done so this, revitalization piece can extend further along the pier so that those who are using it can use the whole span?
Sure, that's a good question, and we always do want to be thinking about planning in the region. Usually, though, the way our projects work is we get funding for one very specific thing, which in this case has been the marina, because it was in such a state of disrepair. But I know that in the Parks Department, we're always looking at ways to improve everything, and I think the promenade in general is something, on our list.
Okay. The question I have, I had to leave for a second, but the question I have for you is that you stated that it does not go onto the promenade. This area that you guys are renovating or fixing or
We're
changing.
not going to, I think, the area that she
Right
mentioned.
behind Ditmars Boulevard.
Right.
Right. That area's been in disrepair for 25 years, maybe, and nobody has addressed it. My first question is why? What does an area have to do to be addressed? The second thing, just a comment, that I think it is not a good process or a good plan when you don't go ahead and talk to another agency who is planning to do something in that area also, as far as the air train goes. Because I was understanding that you had answered one of my colleagues that you have to talk to them or they'll be up to speak about the air train and how does it.
Yeah, and we've been
intertwine.
coordinating with.
You look confused, that's why. I'm trying to clarify for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I can particularly address, I appreciate your straightforwardness on that stuff. I can assure you, in fact, first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to be in another meeting with Port Authority. So we're talking to them on a very, very regular basis on the ins and outs. The simple matter of the fact, sir, is they're too early in their design phase. They haven't even started design. They're still in the exploratory phase, the environmental impact study, the engineering. So at this point, we don't have certainty on that. They'll be able to speak more to it as well. However, what I can tell you, and they're going to echo the same thing, they're going to talk about the MOU we're working on. Rest assured, there's a lot of work going into making sure that there's no diminishment of the public's use of this site. Port Authority gets that, we get that, so we're really looking at how to intersect those two very, very big projects that a lot of people are anticipating, so there's no diminishment of that service. So when you say, how is that going to directly impact that, no one has that answer now. You have to conduct the environmental impact study, you have to do the engineering study. But again, what's been clear is this is a full-service marina. Port Authority understands that. We've communicated that, and we're all working together to make sure there's no diminishment of that.
Okay, you answered the second part. The first part of my question was about the promenade.
Yeah.
What has to get done in order for that to be addressed?
Yeah, I'm the marina guy, so I'm going to defer.
Well, that's right off
Sure.
the marina.
Sure.
It's part, and also the showers, I don't know where you come up with that idea, because now you're looking at a totally different realm with showers there, because you'll actually have people who live there.
We're definitely not going to have people live there. So when we had our public scoping meeting, something that was requested by a good portion of the attendees was improved amenities for the boaters. So basically, when you get wet in Flushing Bay, we would love for it to be pristine. It's not pristine yet, and people really wanted a way to wash off. I know that when I boated in there, I wished that there were showers.
We have showers now, actually. So I don't. But when you have, if you do transient dockage, so it's not people residing there, but you'll have someone come in for a couple nights for the U.S. Open or.
Wait. I
Yes.
know that's the intention,
Yes.
but that's not what happens.
It's staffed, and it's
So
staffed
it's different.
24/7,
It's
365. So
Right.
we have them already.
I know
We don't
in
have that
theory
issue.
you're right, but in all actuality, this is what goes on there. Can you answer me about the promenade,
Yeah.
please?
Sure. So when you're interested in a separate project, like I said, our scope is sometimes narrowed by what we get funding for. And your best stop is definitely within the rest of the community board to make a resolution if it's something you're all really interested in. Your local elected officials are always great people to talk to about
It's
getting
on our-
projects
I believe
started.
it's on our budget, so it has been addressed by this community board.
Great.
Which I'm very appreciative of.
Okay, then,
But still, nothing gets done down there. I don't want to belabor the point because I know
Sure.
we're running time. But still, nothing gets done down there that's positive to the area. You have homeowners there that actually pay taxes that you can't enjoy this area. And this area has been that way for over 20 years, and we're still wondering why. Who's going to address it? Why is it always addressed somewhere else and not addressed there? I'm gonna leave on that note.
okay, well, we will be happy to work on it when it comes to us as a project.
Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah, you got it.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Pryor. I'm with Guardians of Flushing Bay and Riverkeeper, and I just wanted to add, first of all, it's exciting to see that a lot of the public scoping ideas were incorporated into the design, and especially, and the public bathrooms are exciting, like Flushing Bay Promenade really needs bathrooms. I just have a question, and maybe this is more on the engineer side of things, about resiliency, and if you could say a little bit more, you mentioned it, but if you could say a little bit more about how the pier is really responding to resiliency and to climate change, and thinking about this coming after Sandy, and what are the precautions that we're taking?
Absolutely. So I could talk a lot about that. You might want to set a timer because we're thinking about that a lot. Can you go to the rendering? In addition to this project, we're overseeing marina projects, waterfront projects all over the city, some in response to Sandy, some in response to the fact that New York City seems to be really opening up to the waterfront again and opening up the sites that have been closed off for a long time. This one's good. We got nothing showing the piles, right? So the way these were built originally was all out of wood. Wood doesn't do great, especially when the water gets cleaner, because marine borers will eat it. There also had been a lot of designs in the past that made the assumption that there was always going to be a lot of regular maintenance, which, as we know in the city, you can't project out 20 years and know what the maintenance is going to be like. So we've taken those lessons and we've incorporated them into this design from the very beginning. I mean, it's like number one on our list. So instead of timber piles and the primary structural deck, that's all going to be concrete and steel and be corrosion resistant. So it's going to last, we're targeting 75-year design life before it needs to be really addressed. Obviously, the more you can get in there and clean it, the longer it will live. But the idea is we're not going to run into this same problem we're having now where elements start to rot out and collapse. The decking itself is going to be a domestic timber, and the idea with that is that this marina is actually fortunate to be staffed with a dedicated carpentry unit, and so they'll be able to make modifications, make repairs as they go. The floating docks, likewise, are going to be able to be repaired as they go because they're all with local and readily available materials. The whole structure is designed for sea level rise, plus the 100-year storm, plus a freeboard. So the idea is you can get a massive storm here, very high waves, and the waves will wash over it and survive, and the structure will survive with minimal work to bring it back online, including the building. And so these are all like features of our design that we took very seriously.
I'm wondering if there could be or why there isn't any green in this space. Thinking about green roofs, moss is very viable in this kind of a area. Just thinking that this is in a 100-year floodplain. So how are ways that this could be more like a sponge?
Well, in order to make this more sponge-like, I think we would need actually a lot of area to turn it into wetlands. It would probably be outside the scope of this project, since we really want to keep area around this open for boating. In terms of green, it's something that we always think about. We're the Parks Department, you know, we like trees and plants. We try not to put them on structures like this that are built out over the water, because they will accelerate a deterioration, they'll add load, and they'll be more difficult to maintain over time. So for this particular site, we feel like Flushing Meadows Corona Park is a massive park. There's a lot of green in it. We didn't necessarily need to put more green out here for it to achieve its purpose.
I disagree.
Okay.
Just because It's right by a waterfront, which Flushing Meadows Corona Park has Flushing Creek,
Mhm.
and this one actually has Flushing Bay.
Mhm.
So this just has a strip of grass, like, between the promenade and the parking lot.
And a good amount of trees over there, actually.
just added 5 acres of vegetated land.
That's true.
on the
We're
Right.
excited about the wetlands. We're excited about the
DEP's
wetlands.
really invested a lot on specifically what you're talking about.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I'm Arthur. I just wonder, what months and what hours do you anticipate this being open to the public?
Sure, I'll give that back to Nate.
Sure. It's, we never sleep. Again, these marinas are staffed, like I said, 24/7, 365. People want to boat when they want to boat, so they're open to the public, and your specific question to the public as well, year-round. We'll close it when we need to in the event of severe weather. If there's a risk to public, sometimes we have to tell boaters to leave their boats as well. But it's open. If you've ever been down there, you should be able to get in. But this project, right now, Pier 1, we had to close down most of it due to the severe deterioration. But Pier 1 is...
It's a nice place to bike through, and it's a nice place to bike through all year long. And a place to stop with bathrooms will be very much appreciated.
They'll be open to the public when the park is open to the public, which is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Those are the park hours.
All right, good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Parks Department. Yes, there's another screen there. So, I think they're going to set up. So as we're sort of changing over screens, next up we have the Port Authority here to do a presentation. So hopefully we'll just have a few minutes to set that up. Oh, to answer questions? Yeah. I mean, if you can do it. Because you guys are usually good for the amount of information you're presenting. How many minutes has it been? You know, I mean, I usually use it, but it's good to use one just to. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent.
Zoom a bit. Is this, do we even click it? Could you turn it so I can see?
I'm sorry. All right, you got everything?
Need that power strip? Can I switch it over to this extension cord? Because we brought that with us. You don't know what we had to do. Yeah? We actually asked to bring an extension cord. It's in ours. It belongs to the film crew over here. And we were told you need 24 hours notice.
Ready to resume? You want to kick it off? Okay, we're ready to resume. All set?
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rich Smythe. I'm the project executive for the LaGuardia redevelopment program, the construction project you see just down the road over at LaGuardia Airport. We're here doing our quarterly update. We've been here a number of times. Thanks for inviting us back. And we want to give you a snapshot and a progress update of how things are going at the airport and some of the other important things that are coming up. So what I'd like to do is walk through the program. We want to talk about the construction progress, some of the things that have opened and will be opening soon. Want to talk about some of the things interfacing into the community relative to noise, vibration, and the like. Want to talk about our traffic and our parking. I want to make sure I touch on that subject. Want to talk about the AirTrain project. Want to make sure we leave enough time to talk about the AirTrain. And want to talk about some of our community interface events, from everything from local scholarships to some of the outreach programs that we have. So what I'd like to do is to spend about 15 minutes walking through our slides and then bring up, we have representatives from the Port Authority, representatives from Delta Airlines, and the governor's office to answer whatever questions you may have. So I'll jump right in and a quick update starting with the construction. And just the quick headline. I know a lot of you, I see a lot of familiar faces, you know this already. There are four major elements to the project. The first is the reconstruction of Terminal B. The second is reconstruction of Terminal C and D completely. Those existing terminals will be completely actually demolished when the new ones are constructed. Third element is the entire airport airside, landside infrastructure, the roadway network, utility network, and the fourth element of the program is the proposed AirTrain connection to Willets Point. And so relative to Terminal B, construction is well underway. You see that as you're driving along the Grand Central Parkway. That large building out front is the head house. Actually, sorry, Larry, you can go back. I'll That's a subsequent slide. This is up first because it's Concourse B. It's a gate area. It's one of two gate areas. It's actually scheduled to be open next month. So in December, we expect to put this into operation. So we're very excited about it because it's really one of the first customer touching areas where the customer will benefit from some of the new work in place. So the progress has moved a little bit quicker than what's shown on these photographs, but there'll be 11 gates that will open up early next month. And inside, one of the things we want to make sure we highlighted here, we have an ode to Queens, a display where we highlight some of the local attractions from the Louis Armstrong House to the Jamaica Bay Wildlife Refuge to Houdini's grave. That's something we coordinated with the Borough President's Office. This is the head house, the main building you see along the Grand Central Parkway. The curtain wall, the glass facade is nearing completion along the front. We anticipate having the entire building closed in by the end of this year. And actually, we anticipate that building being completed and placed into operation just in about 16, 17 months from now, about the first quarter of 2020. That will be a major improvement at the airport, because what goes along with that is a lot of the roadways. We'll have about 80% of the new roadways fully in place and in operation at that time. So about 16 months from now, we anticipate when that head house opens to the airport infrastructure, the roadway network, to be very close to where we'd like it to be. A couple of shots way over on the left side of the photo is Concourse G. Delta Airlines is moving nicely way on the east side of the airport. Their first piece, because it has to be phased, is one of their 4 concourses. So the first one is well under construction. You see it along the water on the east side. That's scheduled to go into operation in less than a year. By September, October next year, we anticipate that to be placed into operation. Also shown is the central heating and refrigeration plant, the CHIRP. You see that structure also adjacent to the head house, and the steel on top of that is the central hall. That steel is being erected now. That's going to be the connecting piece that will connect the two, the Terminal B complex and the Terminal C complex. And just a few quick milestones. The parking garage, a 3,200 space parking garage, opened earlier this year. That opened in February. The Concourse B will open later by the end of, end of this year, next month. That head house showing in early 2020. And in the Concourse A opens in 2 phases. The first will be later on in 2020, and the second part in early 2022. The Terminal C project, the Delta project, started about a year behind Terminal B. And as I said, that first concourse to be completed about a year from now, before the end of 2019. But the main head house and the 2 main concourses will be completed by the end of 2021. So one of the things that, many things that we're focusing on and conscious of is because of the soil conditions, all of the facilities are on piles, and we've been driving piles for the garage, for the head house. We have a few thousand in place. Actually, virtually all the piles are complete for the Terminal B project. The majority of the piles are complete for the roadway project, and now the Delta project is underway. Their head house is probably about 25% complete with their pile driving. But we've placed monitors on the airport and throughout the community. This happens to be a blow-up of the Ditmars Boulevard. As you know, we've offered, if anybody would like a noise and vibration monitor their home or near the home, we will place it. We've been asked for, I think we probably have about 10 or 12, actually I'm seeing 9 that have been requested that are at private residences on top of what we've already placed. So at the end, we'll provide the phone number and email address. If anybody would like a monitor in or near their neighborhood, let us know, and we'll gladly provide it. Relative to the activity we have going on, particularly the pile driving, we want to be conscious and advise the community when it happens. So it's on our website. We have flyers, and we have an email process through Larry and Chanel Thomas is our outreach coordinators. We've also been asked and offer, if anybody thinks they might have a concern that there is damage caused by the construction relative to broken sidewalk, cracks in the basement, or any other damage. We have an independent engineer that will go out and provide a survey. We've gone to, 10 homes that we've been asked to visit. We visited 10, and one is still being coordinated relative to the timing. And any damage that we have caused, even if if it's a gray area, we want to keep the homeowner whole. So we ask that homeowner to get estimates from contractors, and we will reimburse the homeowner for any repair work. So a lot of that discussion is ongoing now relative to the homes that we visited. This is probably hard to see. It's the results of the, we also have air monitoring. In addition to the noise and vibration, we have air monitors sprinkled throughout as well. And this is the action level. As you can see, we've been, the air relative to the construction has been well below the threshold. Now, earlier chatting with Frank said I'd like to see the detail, the papers, and that's something we're going to follow up and provide rather than a PowerPoint summary, some of the detailed readings from our monitors. So I saved you a question, Frank. This is a snapshot of the roadways. There's a lot of roadway construction going on, including the flyover of the Grand Central Parkway. We opened that up this past summer. Actually, the governor came out, helped us cut a ribbon. It really provided a lot of relief. It gave us direct access to the Delta terminals on the east side of the airport. So different portions of the roadways are being placed into service as we go, and we're seeing benefits each step of the way. Parking, also, you remember early days, there were a lot of concerns with parking because we had to remove the existing parking facility before the new one was replaced. So the new garage, much bigger garage, was placed into service. This is the 3,200 space garage that opened earlier this year, and it is a nice asset. And we're seeing nice benefits from it. Just a couple of the ongoing roadway activities we have. We've connected the two terminals with a temporary bridge between existing Terminal C and Terminal D. It's an acro bridge. This was something we had highlighted to the community earlier. It's in place now, and it's actually working very nicely. This is also something worth highlighting. Our for-hire vehicles, the Uber and Lyft, have been staged on the airport. It's in the vicinity of that Delta head house. So what we reinitiated, we did it last year. Once the baseball season ended, relocated the temporary staging over to the marina for the for-hire vehicles, and so they've been there since mid-October roughly. And we did it through last winter as well, and it actually runs very smoothly. So we're coordinating with the Mets for use of that lot. Okay, the air train. So progress. The air train is still it's a proposed project. We've done some preliminary engineering feasibility studies. It's not a project until it's approved by our, two major hurdles. Has to be approved by our board. It also requires environmental approval, a thorough environmental impact statement, not an EA, an environmental assessment. It's being done outside of the Port Authority. It's being conducted by the FAA, and so the engineering consultant will report directly to the FAA. One of the things, a couple of things that we advocate is the reliability of having an air train. It will provide 30-minute connection from Manhattan to the airport via the Long Island Railroad to Willits, where almost 50%, 45% of the travelers using LaGuardia are coming from Manhattan, and the majority of those coming from Midtown Manhattan. And of course, it reduces the traffic on the roadways. As you know, people today have to plan hours to get to the airport because it's so unpredictable, and this gives a predictable ride to the airport. In June, the state legislation was approved that created a corridor for the route from the airport over to Willits. It's identified in the zone shown on the map. It's basically the edge of the Grand Central Parkway, and includes the area in the water across the Grand Central by the interchange, and cuts through the corner of Citi Field, and runs over, and our station lands very close to the Long Island Railroad, and will connect to both the railroad and the 7 train. And so within that envelope, we've identified a preferred alignment, which is along the side of the Grand Central Parkway. At one time, a concept was in the median of the Grand Central Parkway. We moved it north, that's closer to the promenade and off the Grand Central Parkway, and follows a similar route across the interchange and over to our station. And these are the OMSF is our storage and maintenance facility. So some of the documentation that will be made available as part of the environmental impact study is passenger surveys, ridership surveys. Like the questions are who's going to ride this, and what are the expectations for ridership. So we've conducted an independent survey to see what interest and at what level customers would ride the air train. And that rolled into a model where we forecast the amount of ridership, where we anticipate in the year 2025 we'll have 6.6 million annual trips, or about 18,000 a day utilizing the air train. And that through time grows, and again, as the demand at the airport and traffic grows. It was mentioned earlier about the coordinating with the city and the city's project. One of the requirements of the legislation was for the Port Authority to develop an MOU for coordination of any impact to city property, city projects, And so we're in the process of working that, coordinating that with the City Parks Department and the mayor's office. We anticipate we'll have that together by the end of the year. But two of the major items, one is the passerelle, which is the boardwalk at Willets Point that goes between City Field and the tennis center, to be reconstructed. And that's something that we will do on behalf of the city. We're coordinating that, which will be incorporated into the MOU. And then whatever mitigation and improvements are necessary relative to the construction of our work that's along the promenade, or anything that may impact the marina. As was said earlier, we're far away from Pier 1, where the majority of that redevelopment that you saw earlier. But Pier 2, depending on the ultimate alignment that's chosen, we could be close to Pier 2, and we have to coordinate mitigation and perhaps some redesign work into that project if necessary. And the overall target, we're starting the environmental study now. It's important to note that there'll be public review processes along the way. The first will be what they call a scoping session, where, hey, what is the scope that we want the FAA to look at? And that's open if anybody has any suggestions, want to look at a different route or a different type of access. They have to study that as part of the environmental impact. And then there'll be subsequent public hearings where they present their findings, comments, and they have to respond to comments. So we anticipate that's going to take about a year, and have a record of decision by the end of 2019. And if so, construction would begin sometime in 2020. And that's if the record of decision is approving the project to go forward. A record of decision could also say it's not approved to go forward. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Larry Gallegos, that's going to give a quick rundown on some of our MWB and economic. Boy, I got lucky. I finished right in 20 minutes. Exactly but you didn't mention Larry, though. He's okay. Larry will do it in 5.
Try my best. So hello, everyone. My name is Larry Gallegos. I'm going to ask you guys to be kind. This is I'm on the job a month and a week, I'd say. So bear with me here. It's some growing pains. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So one of the focuses of the redevelopment is to get as many MWB contracts to come for the project itself. So I'm happy to report that we have over $1 billion in MWB contracts. So the LGP has reported that we have 497 contracts as of September 30th, worth $725 million. And then we also have, with Delta, 259 contracts worth $289 million, and hoping that number grows. Out of those numbers, 219 contracts are local MWB entrepreneurs, and by local we mean Queens businesses. So that's valued at $362 million. On the side, we have some of the businesses that we've engaged. Obviously, they're not all the businesses we've engaged, but that's a few of them. We have a lot. We've partnered with the Council for Airport Opportunities for employment opportunities. We've had a variety of different events, recruiting events, 10 aviation job events here. You see, October we recently had Jobtoberfest, where we had over, I'd say, close to 20 events throughout the neighborhoods, such as the local libraries, at the homeless shelters nearby, recruiting folks for jobs, anywhere from entry-level jobs and concessions to supervisor jobs and managerial positions as well. Here we go. That speaks of the concessions I just spoke about. Over 20 hiring events, 12 van stops in the community, 8 community meetings, over 10,000 weekly email blasts. The results as of November 1st, we have 236 hires for Concourse B that Rich was mentioning before that would be opening up at the end of this year. 155 are from Queens, and 57 of those come from Community Boards 1 and 3. So one of our biggest focuses is to make sure that we have as many folks from the surrounding communities getting these jobs, getting the opportunities that come with the redevelopment. speak a little bit more on community development and outreach. So one of the most exciting things that has come from the redevelopment to me is, I mean, at least I think, is the scholarship that we are offering right now. The Port Authority's partnered with Vaughn College to provide 6 four-year scholarships for students in the open to any student in Queens. Preference is given to kids in the surrounding communities. The zip code's 11369, 11372, 11370. Why am I trying to memorize them? They're right there. 11105. So with these scholarships, what comes is you get all 4 years you're in college, you get paid internships, and upon graduation, you get guaranteed job placement with the Port Authority. So, I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer. You know, you graduate, you have no debt, and you have a guaranteed job with a great agency like the Port Authority. In addition to that, you're not obligated to work for the Port Authority like you do with some other places and scholarships they provide. That's an opportunity you have available to you, but you're not obligated, you're not like contractually obligated to work for them for like 2 years or something like that. So it's an option you have, and you can choose any 4-year degree at Vaughn College. It does not have to necessarily be aviation related, so it could be anything such as engineering, mechanical engineering, robotics is big these days. So the options are there. I mean, I know we've shared it with Community Board 3 previously, and I would encourage you to tell anybody you know, whether that be kids, nephews, nieces, grandkids, to apply for the scholarships, because even if they decide not to go that route, it's an option you have there. That's $24,000 a year you don't have to worry about. So please, have folks apply. The deadline is December 1st, before I forget to mention that, and the minimum requirements are an 80 GPA and an 1100 SAT score. We have our outreach, our mobile van, which we've tried to get in as many places in the community as possible. Some of the things that we've done are, like I said, go to our local libraries such as Langston Hughes. East Elmhurst, we've worked with the mobile library they have there since East Elmhurst is still under construction. Corona, Jackson Heights, Left Rack City, I think Astoria, Queens Library at Astoria. In addition to that, we've tried to go to different, community events. Like Tuesday, we were at City Field. They had a military transition event, offering jobs to veterans. So what we've done is we brought the van out there, spoke to them about the opportunities that come with, the redevelopment at LaGuardia and other airports. We've done turkey giveaways last week. I'm lying, not last week. On Monday, we had a turkey giveaway with the United Community Civic Association from Astoria. Next Monday, we've partnered with Councilmember Moya and the East Elmhurst Corona Civic Association to have a turkey giveaway at the Elm Course Senior Center on Astoria Boulevard. Oh, and more exciting news is we have a community office coming to East Elmhurst early 2019. So what that community office is going to offer to folks in the community is pretty much, you could come in obviously and ask any questions about the redevelopment, what's going on, how the project is coming along, because I'm sure that's exactly what you guys want to know about all the times. But aside from that, what we're trying to do is find out from local leaders, local elected officials, how we can sort of implement programming into this community office. Whether that be resume writing skills, things along those lines. So we're going to speak to folks once the office is open to let us know, like, what do you want to see come from this office? It's not just about the redevelopment. It's about everything else that the community can benefit from having this office here. We want it to be as much of a resource to you all as possible. All right. Exciting partnership that we've had is with the Queens Council on the Arts in Terminal A, the JetBlue terminal. With Queens Council on the Arts is we have displays, their exhibits on a monthly basis. This month we have the history of aviation, I believe it is, going, what was it, in Terminal A? So that's something else that we have going on with the community outreach portion of it. Invite you to visit our redevelopment website that we just launched in ULGA, where you'll have updates, community events, things along those lines. I'm trying to move quickly here. I'm being hurried up a little bit here. And here's additional information if you ever need to reach any of us for any concerns, questions you may have. Chanel Thomas Henry or myself. There's my email address.
Leave that up a second. And so these are the contacts in terms of if there's any request for noise monitors in your community. What I'd like to do is do the Q&A. Matt DeSena is our project manager for the AirTrain project, and George Giulione is the construction manager for Delta Airlines, over at the little construction project across the street.
Thank you, gentlemen. Can I just ask, the contacts that are up on the screen right now for people who might see this on YouTube, would they just go to new LGA Contact Us page on the website to be able to find those contacts, or?
Yes.
Okay, just so that goes on record on the video, so if people can't see the screen, they can go look for it. Okay, no, that's fine, but there'll be a contact page
Right.
where they can go.
If their names aren't there, there's still a way to contact,
Right.
to send a notice.
Right, and of course, everyone in the room here can see it on the screen, so thank you very much. Do we have questions or comments? Okay, so I'm keeping our presenters to a tight schedule tonight, so I ask that our questions and comments also be kept concise. I know we all have tons of questions, so if you have one, just try to keep it to one question, let the folks answer, and then let's keep it to that and not make it a discussion, okay? So that we don't belabor that point. Thanks.
All right. Hello, thank you for coming this evening. I'm Steve Kohanek. I'm from Jackson Heights, and I am a board member. Fast and easy, real quick. The LaGuardia Link bus. Very successful, very happy with it. In previous times when the holidays came up, you guys waived the fare. Do you anticipate doing that for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's?
Good question, and yes, the fare will be waived for this Thanksgiving. That part I know, and yes, I know it does get very good use. I saw it twice today, completely filled. Yes.
It's good. Doug, consider waiving the fare. It really encourages
Good.
people to
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
the fare is waived, I think, as of today.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Nulo.
I'm sorry if I could, thanks to the MTA, our partners at the MTA.
My name's Nulo Darty. I'm a board member, and I live in Jackson Heights, and I am a big user of the promenade as a biking link between here and Flushing, and I'm all for public transportation. I like the idea of an air train, but for those of us who live near the airport, we're not going to be using the air train to get there. It's going to cause a lot more ridership on our 7 train, and it's going to block a beautiful view that we have of Flushing Bay. So what is the airport, and specifically the air train, going to do to give back to us what they're taking away from that beautiful promenade by building that air train there?
You want to try that, Matt? Or, no, we're very cognizant of that. I'll give you the overview. Matt can provide some details. But that's one of the items we're working with the city of New York, that MOU, in terms of a mitigation plan, not only to repair whatever hole we dug to put the air train, but to really do something to improve and to work with the city to improve the promenade. And maybe, Matt, you could give a little more detail.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question, and I think Rich covered most of it, but what I want to emphasize in addition to that is that we're really at the beginning of a process here. So as Rich mentioned, we're just on the cusp of starting the formal environmental review process. We're in conversations with the stakeholders at the city, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially through the environmental review process, for the public to be engaged, to be involved, and we really welcome that type of feedback. We welcome specific suggestions, and as Rich mentioned earlier, the FAA is going to be the independent entity running the environmental review process, and they are required to take all public feedback into consideration as part of the environmental review process. So I think, we look forward to working with all the stakeholders on the project as we move forward.
So how will we be informed of the ability to comment on them? I know you said it's going to happen for the year, but how do we know about it?
Yeah, so the timeline for the public scoping and if there's any additional meetings beyond that will be determined by FAA. They have not set the date for that. We're working with them to get that started quickly and hope to have the first meetings on that early next year. But the schedule is up to FAA. I think what we're going to do on the Port Authority end is as soon as we do have that information from FAA. We're going to blast it out through all of our communications channels, through Larry and Chanel, the community boards, all the folks that we work with regularly to make sure that everyone knows when those meetings are happening. We're going to be out here as the Port Authority even more regularly than the scoping meetings themselves, and we're going to be very proactive in terms of letting folks know when that's going to happen. In terms of the official notice, the FAA has to provide at least a 30-day notice before the scoping meetings. So we will have a minimum of 30 days notice, hopefully even more notice than that. And they're very cognizant of holidays and things like that, and make sure to schedule it at times when folks are going to be available.
So I'd specifically ask that you have those scoping meetings in the area that's going to be affected most, which is our neighborhood. Don't have them in Lower Manhattan.
No.
Have them here near the airport. Thanks.
Definitely, yeah.
And I apologize if I ask quick, can I please ask two questions? One is, what are the resiliency features that the airport has? Same kind of question that was asked of the marina.
The entire redevelopment of the airport is, actually the Port Authority has a very thorough resiliency program throughout the entire infrastructure. But the design of the facilities, you see, we have flood barriers built around all of our structures. You can see the roads are high, the buildings will be high. It's all designed to be well above the future peak flood level throughout the airport.
And like chemicals and stuff, fuel, how will that be handled in, preventatively?
Well, actually, we have a very good preventative program now in terms of if fuel spills get reported and monitored and the like in the event they happen. But the new infrastructure has facilities to capture the storm water, to treat it before it goes out into the bay, to collect if there's any residual chemicals or spills in the storm system.
And then I also wanted to ask for the office that you'll open, if the office could please also include lessons on things like how to understand an EIS, how to understand air monitoring. Maybe that office could be a repository for physical copies, because sometimes those documents are very large and bulky. Some seniors don't have as much access to bandwidth on the internet.
No, it will be, and that's one of the purposes of having the facility. The documents will be there, and people will be staff there that can explain them.
Thank you.
I know you haven't had the public scoping meeting yet, but I heard you saying that you have discovered a preferred alternative.
Yes.
I understand that a preferred alternative is only selected after the environmental impact study has concluded, isn't it?
No, we propose a preferred alternative. There's a base plan, a preferred alternative that gets reviewed by the FAA. But they look at all alternatives that they come up with, including no action. What if we do nothing? And including those that they or their consultant come up with, or that the public recommends. But it's all compared to the base plan.
But you rarely hear people talking about preferred alternative before that environmental impact study had concluded. Although you didn't explain what your preferred alternative was, because your preferred alternative is going to impact a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders here in the community. So talking about preferred alternative is very touchy, because you don't have the environmental study concluded yet.
Right, it's not the approved and it's not the final. It's our going in recommendation.
I'm James from East Elmhurst. I have a question about the ridership study, and how can you speak to the accuracy of it, or why you think that those particular numbers and the projections will be accurate when recently we've had the air train at JFK that did not meet up to its expectations, at least initially. I'm not sure about the numbers currently. but also the ridership for the extension of the 7 train and also the extension of the Q train into the Upper East Side. Those have all been, have not met expectations. They've been off by a lot. So why should we trust the numbers here?
You want to chat on that, Matt?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. Just one point on the JFK Air train, since that's the one Port Authority system that you mentioned. That system has actually far exceeded our ridership projections initially. There were, as is the case typically with new systems, the early years had a slow ramp up. So there was lower ridership in the early years, but we're actually at JFK in a position now where the system doesn't have the capacity to keep up with the ridership, and so our colleagues over at JFK are looking at how they can potentially add more cars or things like that to the system to accommodate all the riders. So that system, especially in recent years, has been quite successful.
And how much of that is paid ridership as opposed to people going from terminal to terminal and not paying for the service?
Yeah, it's a good question. So JFK is a unique airport with a lot of connecting passengers, and there is a lot of use on the AirTrain system of unpaid riders. But we've also seen the paid ridership exceed the initial projections. So the paid ridership, it's about 12% of all the non-connecting passengers, so 12% of all folks who are making a trip directly to or from the airport on the ground use the AirTrain. It's about 8 million passengers and rising every year. Every year we're setting a new record. So just to touch briefly on the LaGuardia projections, so a lot of our modeling work is based off the knowledge that we have of JFK and our passenger markets. It's a very detailed study. I really encourage you, if you haven't already, to take a look through the report. It's up on our website, and there's a detailed appendix that goes through all the modeling work. I think that the important thing to keep in mind is that that the AirTrain will add a much better travel option for the core passenger market for LaGuardia, which happens to be Midtown Manhattan. And so the Long Island Railroad connection is directly from Midtown, so there's a large capture of those passengers. This is something that's going to continue to get studied through the EIS. It'll be independently reviewed. Just one other quick point on it. So, I mean, the report has all this detailed information, probably more detail than you want, but we really did a lot of due diligence and detailed work. And one of the things that we did is we took to model the travel times on the road as compared to the transit. We took New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission data. It's actual GPS data of travel times of cars. So it's not a projection, it's not a forecast, it's actual observed data, and fed that into the model. And this was actually a new innovation that we had in our model. So it's a very detailed approach. Really encourage you to check out the report, and happy to answer further questions about that as we move forward.
Hey, Richard. Hey, Frank. How are you? How you doing, man? I was giving you guys a pass today. You don't have to. But I know I'm not now. First of all, the ridership survey, I got that 400-page report. I've gone through about 300 pages so far. I haven't finished it yet, but I will by the time I see you guys. There was only one rider survey that I saw, and it was 3,400 or 2,400 people. Now, you guys service 30 million according to you guys. You took a survey of 2,400 people, to which the fact, what was it, 1,000 people, 1,200 people said that they need the air train? I think those are around the numbers. Did you do a new survey, or are we still talking about that other survey just now? Was this a new one that I missed?
So first of all, thank you for reading through the reports.
Haven't finished yet, but I'll finish.
Yeah, no, but it was a lot of work on our part, so I really appreciate people who go through it in a detailed fashion. To answer the question about surveys, so there's actually a lot of survey data that's in the ridership report. We conducted in 2017, just last year, we conducted the survey that you're talking about that included about 2,400 passengers, about 800 employees. And what we did with that data is we combined that data set with about 10,000 additional data points from our regular annual customer satisfaction
But,
surveys.
excuse me one second, but it's still based on a number of 2,400 to 3,200 people out of 30 million.
Sorry,
Is that right?
I'm gonna get there in
Okay.
one second.
No, I
So-
just got another question. My chairman here is pulling.
Yeah, so it's a 2,400 passenger survey that we did in 2017, and then we combined that with more than 10,000 additional survey records from 2014 through 2016. So we have close to 13,000 survey data points that the forecast is based on.
Are the data
And
points
then-
people?
Yes.
So 13,000 people.
Yes, and if you give me 1 second,
No,
I'll
go
get
ahead,
to
go
the
ahead.
30 million.
I just
So,
want to keep up with you.
so 30 million is the annual passengers for the whole airport. That includes connecting passengers.
Correct.
The ridership survey only accounts for the non-connecting passengers, right? Only people who are making a trip on the road to the airport. So that eliminates about 15% of our passengers. And then what we do is we take,
It's about 5 million people.
sure, and then we take that number and we divide it by 365 to get the daily number. I'm not good at mental math, but it's about 70, 80,000 in that range daily trips to the airport. So what we actually have with our 13,000 data points is a pretty good representation of the daily passenger profile, and this is it's within best practices of modeling. You know, as I mentioned with the other gentleman, you know, this is a topic that's going to get a lot of discussion going forward, and we're happy to continue answering questions.
I didn't want to belabor that. I'm sorry, Phil. I didn't want to belabor that, but thank you for the answer. I disagree with that. You know, 30 million, 25 million, 13,000. That's quite a difference. But besides that, the air monitoring. You said there was air monitoring going on in the neighborhood in East Elmhurst? Because in 2005, my question reverts back to this report. By the Fair Air Act, they were in conjunction with the government at that time, who funded this report, that was written in 2005. That report is good from 2005 to 2020. They stated in that report that the NOx gases, which are the gases that escape from the airplanes that go into the neighborhoods, and East Elmhurst is one of the highest areas of asthma, COPD, lung cancer, that if you guys didn't do anything with the airport and left it the way it was with the traffic and no construction, 2020 you would be over the allowed limits of NOx gases. Now we know for the last 4 or 5 years there's been construction, and directly out of the governor's mouth, he stated that the airport's 3 times as busy as it was back then. Where are these air monitoring devices, as we spoke?
Frank, well, I can
Right.
share with you where they are, but these air monitors are relative to the construction, to the dust relative to the construction. It's not the aircraft gases. That's a whole
That's
separate.
something different.
Right, that's something, this
Okay.
is all relative to the construction
Okay.
project.
And I just got one other question, if I can. The promenade that came up, are you guys stating, are you guys willing to rebuild the promenade? By Ditmars Boulevard, the part that's being neglected. Are you guys willing to rebuild that? Is that what you're saying here?
We are coordinating with the city in terms of what improvements are necessary, what can be done to improve the promenade, over and above what we're doing relative to the construction project.
Okay, all right,
But
thank you.
there is a focus on, we don't have the details, don't have the answer, but that is something we want to work with the city and come up with a plan that's satisfactory to everybody.
I just want to thank you guys for finally starting to listen. Enough hasn't been done yet, but at least you guys have started the ball as far as listening to us. So appreciate that.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, thank you.
We've got just time for one more.
I'm curious, hello.
Hi.
I'm curious about, well, I have a comment, which is just that it's a little bit alarming to see that just legally that the AirTrain is talked about as a done deal, whereas with an EIS process, we really have to consider all alternatives with equal standing. And right now, we're just talking about these 3 alternatives that all have to do about one AirTrain, whereas this is about a route to get to LaGuardia. So it has to include all the possible alternatives for a route to get to LaGuardia that include, you know, an extension of the N line, a ferry, a bus.
That should all be included, from the no action to a
But right now, we're just
ferry.
hearing about the AirTrain
Right, that's-
because it's CB3. Is that
Because-
correct?
No,
we're
because
talking-
that's the proposal, to provide train service to the airport, and this is our recommendation.
That's
But-
the
but-
preferred
but
route.
That's the preferred route.
Okay, so my question is the EIS, the environmental impact statement, the process is supposed to take 1 year according to the report. And for perspective, JFK's EIS process, the entire EIS process, which also included the draft, which didn't include the draft, took 3 years. So just part of the process for JFK took 3 years. We're saying for this, that the entire process, including the draft and the final environmental impact statement, will take 1 year. I'm curious about why that timeline is so fast.
So the timeline, it's the Port Authority's goal. And our goal is to be able to complete as much of the overall construction of the airport as possible within the same time frame to minimize the disruption that folks are dealing with related to traffic and other issues associated with these projects. So we'd like to be able to start the project so that we can construct it roughly within a similar time frame as the other redevelopment projects. But it's important to note, as with the preferred alternative, it's the Port Authority's preferred alternative. The 1 year target is the Port Authority's target schedule. The EIS process is going to be run by FAA, same agency that did the JFK AirTrain EIS that you referred to. We're working internally, and we're working with all of our stakeholders, working with MTA and others to try to expedite the process. But we also want to do it in a collaborative way. We're going to do it FAA will do the process in a legal way and in compliance with all laws. And so, we're going to continue to work towards the 1 year target and do what's within the Port Authority's control to achieve that time frame. But the FAA will run the process, and they will ultimately determine the time frame.
And I think we can assure you that there'll be no shortcuts. It'll be a thorough EIS process. And any expediting would be more on the administrative and the process side, and scheduling some of the work and preparing reports and the like. But there'll be no shortcuts, and we'll not leave out any of the processes in terms of community interface and community involvement.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, you have the contact info, folks, so please don't hesitate to look them up if you have more questions going forward. We only have so much time for questions tonight. So normally coming up here, we have public hearings. We have some applicants for business and economic development. Unfortunately, we've run late already tonight, and also we do not have a quorum tonight, so we would not be able to vote on these hearings, so we are going to have to table them until next month. So I apologize for that. I don't know how many of our applicants are here tonight, but we're going to have to push those back 1 month because we do not have sufficient numbers of members here to vote. So I apologize for that, obviously due to the weather. So that pretty much concludes our public hearing portion. We would now go into executive session. This will obviously go fairly quickly since we do not have a roll call vote. But we do have a couple of motions, so we'll do that. So right now we are going to enter executive session. So as always, we begin by reciting the pledge. So I ask you all to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you. Can I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda tonight? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Thank you. 2 motions by committees tonight. One of them is business economic development. Again, that is being tabled until next month. But we do have education committee motion.
You can't table that one.
Do you want to do that one?
Can we?
Well, we can. Okay. This is a resolution by the Education Committee. We were supposed to hear this last month and couldn't do it because we did not have a quorum at the end of the meeting. More on that in a couple of minutes. Or actually, while she's coming up, I'll jump ahead a little bit to my report and just say that if you look at the bottom of your agenda tonight, folks, you will see in blazing yellow that we are going to start next month at 7:30. So technically we start at 7:45, but we all know the meetings really don't start till at least 8 p.m. So we're going to try to start right at 7:30 sharp in the hopes that we can get the ball rolling earlier, get out earlier, have a little bit more time maybe for questions and answers and so forth. So please just make a note of that. Try to get here at 7:30. I know for some people it will be a little harder to get here at 7:30. That includes me because I get out of work later than 5 p.m. But I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be here. So I hope that everybody will make every effort. And, you know, under normal weather circumstances, even starting 15 minutes earlier, we should have a quorum going into executive session, no problem. But anyway, so motions by committee, the Education Committee.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Masulam, and this is going to be a letter of support. We've been asked for a letter of support to increase funding for accessible projects in public schools. This request came from ARISE. That's the Action for Reform in Special Education, which is part of the Advocates for Children. They will be asking Mayor de Blasio and the Board of Education to allocate increased funding because 82% of public schools are inaccessible to our most vulnerable children. Many of the public school buildings have been shown that even in places like Bedford-Stuyvesant, there are no fully accessible schools in District 16. So even students with very severe disabilities, they don't have, when I say fully accessible, it means that maybe there'll be a ramp, but there won't be an elevator. So they could get to the first floor, but while the class is going to the library on the second floor, they can't. Or we'll go into the computer room on the third floor, they can't. Many of them travel for over an hour because some of the schools are not even accessible with a wheelchair ramp, so they have to wait over an hour. Could you imagine in weather like this? I bet you they're probably not even going to school tomorrow. And it's not fair. So we're asking you, excuse me? Oh, so there was also a report done, 1/3 of the city schools were were partially accessible to people with disabilities. There was an additional 150 million allocated in June, but that's only less than 1% of the city's 17.2 million that was allocated for projects for the fiscal year 2015 to 2019. So the Advocates for Children recommend an additional 750 million over 5 years to the already 100 million that they've already been allocated. So I'm asking you tonight, we're asking you, do you approve a letter of support and requesting increased funding for more accessibility projects in New York City schools? Do you care about these students? Yes. Thank you. Question. Thank you. Okay. Questions? Anybody who here doesn't approve? No? Okay. Who doesn't want wheelchair ramps or elevators for these children? Okay, great. Approved. Thank you.
Okay, so we are all in favor on that, right? Is this yours? Okay. So that concludes motions by committees. Very quickly, Chairman's report again. 7:30 start next time. My goal is to just have the public participation ready to go at 7:30, even if we're still kind of getting our bearings in time for executive session. We should be able to get the ball rolling, which should help us. We do have a timer now. We're trying to keep, as you saw the presenters tonight, to a tight schedule. Again, I thank everybody for being as concise as possible with their questions. Please know I'm not trying to stop questions from being asked, especially from the community. That's the whole point of these meetings. But it is still a meeting. It's not a free-for-all, so we need to keep to the parliamentary procedure. We want to make sure everyone is given a fair chance to be heard, and sometimes that means also keeping things moving. So I thank you all for your questions and your comments and for cooperating with keeping it concise. We're also going to try to do a roll call at the beginning of the meeting next time. Obviously, again, if you're not here right at the meeting, you're not going to not get a gold star or anything like that. But it's just to kind of get a good idea of what quorum we have. It's already kind of being done informally, but a lot of boards do this formally out loud, so we're going to try that and see how it goes next time. Finally, just one more thing for me. I'm just going to announce we do have our nominating committee in place because it is that time of year again. We'll be doing our elections in a couple of months. So once again, I would like to thank Ms. Vivian Dock for taking on the chairmanship of the nominating committee. In addition to all the other work that Vivian does, she does a great job every year running this very busy and important committee. We have some returning members and some new members, so just very quickly I'll announce them. On the nominating committee, we have Mr. Gandhi, Marta LeBreton, Richard Mink, Veronica Ng, Fausto Rodriguez, and David Rosero. So that's our nominating committee. Thank you guys for your work. I appreciate it. And I think that's all I've got, which brings us to our district manager's report.
I have nothing to report this evening.
That was good. Can I have a motion for the adoption of the October minutes? I see one back there. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. We do have one committee report tonight, Youth Services and Education Committees.
Before we report, I just would like to say that tomorrow is IS 230's Career Day. I gave everybody the flyers last meeting. I heard from some of you, thank you. If there's anybody who realizes that tomorrow they're free after all, you could see me after the meeting. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Renetta English. I'm the chair of the Youth Services Planning Committee. And this year, again, we're going to do the community gift giving project. In your packet, you should have the flyer. And the dates are from November 14th to December 14th. And you can drop off items at Regal Heights or Cake Meal. So please, 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 please be generous. And this year we've decided to give items to the 4 local soup kitchens in our area. So your support is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. And in the spring, we're proposing to do a children trafficking seminar with the National Association of University Women, so you'll get some more information about that. And what we're also trying to do is to share local events that are going on in the schools, like Lisa shared her school that she taught, and at 127 they had an open house. So we want to support our schools so when they are having events that the community board members can come out and support it so we can see what's going on in the schools. Our next meeting is on December 6th at 6:30 at the community board office, so everyone is welcome. But again, please support our gift giving campaign. And we'd like to also thank a number of our community organizations, their names and their logos are at the bottom here, that have been supporting us also.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a great project. For those who aren't familiar with it, you can look on our Facebook page. There's photo albums of the last couple of years. It's a wonderful project that's really fun to be part of. So if you're from the community too, please feel free to come out and help and volunteer, because it's a lot of fun also. And Kevin Hughes, our Twitter master, is not here tonight, but he is planning to try and coordinate like a hashtag to incorporate with events like this. So you'll hear more about that hopefully going forward. And it'll just be like a hashtag we can use to show like CB3 Queens Giving or something along those lines, so that if you have pictures and you do post them, you can link it so that people will find it when they're looking for that hashtag. Because it's really important to share these photos too, to really showcase the neighborhood coming together for a great cause. Next up, committee referrals. No. Borough President's Report. Legislators reports. We have a couple. No. Okay, real quick.
Okay, hello, Dante from Councilmember Francisco Moya's office. Briefly, as mentioned before, we are partnering with LaGuardia and the East Elmhurst Corona Civic Association doing a Thanksgiving turkey giveaway November 19th at 7 o'clock. Arrive at 7 o'clock, and that will be at the Civic Association on, Astoria Boulevard. And lastly, today we had a meeting with agencies that parallel the issues that are happening in the 21st District. A couple of the agencies that we met with today were the Department of Sanitation, Department of Finance, Oath, the Department of Buildings, Transportation, the 110 and 115 precincts, small businesses, Department of Health, the State Liquor Authority, NYC, EDC, Parks, Consumer Affairs, and the Department of Homeless Services. As you are probably aware, there are a lot of issues that are going on across the district, especially like public intoxication, sanitation along Northern Boulevard, and then illegal alcohol sales in like the bodegas. So the council member is meeting with these officials, and those meetings will go on quarterly. And when we get updates, we're actually using the meeting to actually come up with solutions, just not talk about the issue. So once we get those solutions, you guys will be made aware of it, as so was the public. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I promise to be brief also. So my name is Christopher Espinoza. I'm here from the office of Assemblywoman Adi Espinal, and we have a couple of events. First, since we're being recorded as well, the office is located at 82-1137 Avenue in Jackson Heights, Suite 607, and our phone number is 718-458-5367. And the first event is going to be right outside of our office at the address that I just gave you. It's going to be a free mammography van that we're going to have parked right outside of our office. It's always good to get checked, even if you have no symptoms. Please feel free to inform everyone, We also have free legal services. We have partnered with NYLAG to bring free legal services that range from tenant landlord issues, disability benefits, healthcare benefits, identity theft, and so forth. That van is also going to be stationed right outside of our office on Friday, November 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. To make an appointment, you can call our office. And we also have a turkey giveaway, which we are doing in partnership with Councilmember Francisco Moya at his district office on November 20th at 7 p.m. It will take place at 10601 Corona Avenue, and you have to RSVP to get a turkey. So if you know a family who's in need, or if you would like a turkey, please come on by. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Keeban. I'm from Councilmember Daniel Drum's office. So Councilmember Drum and Machaga are holding a town hall meeting to inform public about the new proposed rule change about public charge. This Tuesday, November 20th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at PS 69. So we would like to invite everybody to be there to learn about the new proposed change and also how it impact our immigrant community. So this Tuesday, November 20th, from 6 to 8 at PS 69. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is George Hadji Constantinu. I am here on behalf of Assemblymember Michael Dendecker's office. I want to give you a quick update about a couple events that we have coming up. On Saturday, December 8th, we're going to have from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., we're going to have a Santa in our office so people can have an opportunity to have their children take a free picture with Santa. Also, also Saturday, January, oh, by the way, our office address is 75-35 31st Avenue, Suite 206B in East Elmhurst, the Modell's Shopping Mall. Actually, yeah, the Modell Shopping Mall. And then on Saturday, January 5th, we're also going to be hosting an electronic waste pickup at the shopping mall as well. So just mark that on your calendars. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And that concludes legislators, what can I say that tonight? Legislators reports, City Planning Commission. Any old business? Any new business? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you. Please get home safely. Thank you for making it out tonight. See you next time. And don't forget, 7:30.